Hello there, welcome to Blitz Transmissions. I'm Tommy, this is the Blitzcast, episode 33. Before we get into the content of this very, very exciting podcast episode, let's go through the laundry list of housekeeping items, shall we? If you're on YouTube checking out this video format, you could subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed, because guess what? I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this podcast early on Patreon. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and more awesome benefits, you could check out the Patreon. The link is in the description below. And there's going to be plenty of other links in the description below as well. Like, if you're a fan of things here on the YouTube side of things, if you're watching on YouTube, like my action figure reviews, like I just did 4 of last week here, you could check out the Rancor Battalion channel membership. Rancor Battalion gives you exclusive badges in the comments section, priority replies in said comment sections. You will also get early reviews, and you get to vote on what I review next for the channel. In addition to that, you could also check out links to the Blitz Transmissions Armory. I got this swag on right now, the Blitz Transmissions hoodie, the option where it's got the nice big Blitz Transmissions logo on the front in black. We have multiple colors, multiple designs, lots of different clothing items. If you want to check out the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify, the link to that is in the description below. Surprise, surprise, we got a lot of links in the description below, like my Discord, as well as all my social media, like Instagram, my Blitz Bounties Instagram page. You could also check out X, which no one really checks out anyway. I might be deleting that, who knows, and my TikTok page as well. Guys, guess what? We're back with Jennifer for another week of the Blitzcast. Jen.
Hello.
How we doing?
I'm doing well.
That's good. Jen, we finished watching Star Wars this week.
We did.
How was that? How was that for you?
I feel like I'm missing something in my life, because that was the sign of when we started dating. We started watching Star Wars, and now it's over.
Crazy.
So Star Wars can't stop releasing content, or else I feel like we're gonna break up.
Wild. Insane. We are bound by Star Wars.
But I'm very satisfied that we finished it, though, because it's been a 3 years long adventure together. It's
been a lot of fun, though. I've really enjoyed watching it from beginning to end chronologically with someone.
Yeah.
That was a lot, and especially considering you haven't seen a lot of that content, that made it really fun and very special. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were going to talk about our rankings. You could check out Jen's rankings of the shows and movies over on my Discord. And we were going to go through our lists, see if they match up, how different they are based on our tastes. But we have Star Wars Celebration going on, and I really wasn't expecting as many announcements and as much news just from day one. As this is coming out, it's going to be day 2 will have already completed for Star Wars Celebration. We kind of waited around till day 1 at least was over, so we could at least talk about some of it before we wait an entire week to get into, the rest of the announcements and such. It's because it's also Easter weekend. Mm-hmm. Happy Easter to those who celebrate in the secular way, or to those who celebrate in the religious way. Happy Easter. He is risen. Risen as in R-I-S-E-N, not as in R-I-Z-Z-I-N. But he might be risen if he's nonchalant Jesus like my brother Cheesy Napkin was for his Stations of the Cross performance when he played Jesus. Nonchalant Jesus. You know how it goes. Anyways, so Jen, Star Wars Celebration is happening in Japan. They're in the future right now. Why didn't they warn us?
These jokes.
Why didn't they warn us? And so with day 1 being completed, we got, like I said, a lot more announcements than I originally thought. So I thought it would be fun to kind of rifle through some of the news and such. I feel like Star Wars has a very good vibe about it right now. I'm really liking the vibe of how their PR and how their advertising and marketing is approaching the franchise right now. We have a franchise that is feeling pretty hurt and licking its wounds after, the Acolyte, and the sequel trilogy, and just a lot of, I've made several videos on the channel, especially when I first started the channel, about Star Wars feeling, and Lucasfilm too, feeling very directionless. Yeah. As someone who was still kind of actively watching the content, how were you feeling, more of like an outside perspective at the time?
It is really interesting watching everything back to back, because you can see where a lot of the passion went into, like what are passion projects versus what were things that they thought they needed to do or were told they needed to create, just as either a money grab or just what seemed to be the correct thing to do with Star Wars' precedent. Yeah. So, like, watching the Clone Wars versus watching Resistance, both and Rebels, all three are created as supplemental information to help you watch the movies. Yeah. But there is a drastic difference in quality and depth. Yeah. Across those three shows. So, and one outlier actually in particular. So, it is really interesting watching everything back to back, because I can imagine if you're watching it live for the first time and all you've seen are like the Clone Wars and Rebels, and then you're watching Resistance knowing that it was a Dave Filoni creation. Yeah. And you have the, like, oh my gosh, like, well, Rebels and Clone Wars were so good, and then you watch that, and you're like, oh. If you want more thoughts on Resistance, check out last week's podcast.
Check out the Blitzcast number 32. We watched Resistance.
So, I can kind of, like, I saw it so drastic because there was no buffer, really, in between, like, the really good and juicy stuff versus things that either I didn't find as interesting or you told me weren't received super well. So it's interesting to see, like, even just in the past few years, because, I mean, when did Resistance end, and when did the...
Resistance, I want to say, aired from, like, 2015 to, like, 2017.
Okay, and then when did Rise of Skywalker come out?
2019.
Yeah, so it's only been a handful of years. I guess 6 is a lot, but, like, it's still it's not that long for things to completely change. So it seems like there's a totally different vibe from just what you've told me of the 2019 era versus
now. Yeah. So I guess we'll just dive right in. So unfortunately, what kind of pissed me off a little bit about the live show for this year's Star Wars Celebration, in past years, it's always been really cool because the Star Wars official YouTube channel does, like, live. Like, so they'll actually show you all the panels live, like all the main stage. Remember a few weeks ago when we covered, like, all the panels that were going to be on the Friday and Saturday and Sunday? Those were almost all shown. Like, yeah, they would cut it off for a trailer or something, like, so that only the people there could see the trailer for a new series or a new movie or something. But, like, historically, they've always, like, shown you all the panels. This year, they made the panels, like, super exclusive. They didn't even show you any of the panels, as far as I know, from what I watched yesterday. Okay. It was all just, like, BS little interviews on, like, the fan stage and, like, the main atrium of Celebration. It was kind of lame, in my opinion. So you kind of having to, like, sift through Twitter, like I guess X was where, like, Star Wars was doing all their big announcements, and it was fun, like, to get the announcements rolling out, but I also was like, come on, man, like, that's my only negative thing to say. As someone who couldn't chose not to travel to Japan.
Right.
Across the world.
Is that a normal thing to live stream? Not just with Star Wars Celebration, but I'm thinking like San Francisco Comic-Con. Like, do they live stream
SD, like San Diego Comic-Con?
San Diego, sorry.
No, they don't live stream, no.
So, I guess to play devil's advocate with that, I guess I kind of understand if you, like, pay for this exclusive experience.
Right.
And I think if it was, like, a normal thing with other, like, Comic-Cons and bigger events like this, obviously, of course, if they've done it in the past, I understand why you would expect it.
Right.
But if, like, the standard in the industry is to not...
Yeah. I get it.
I wonder if any people from, like, past celebrations have complained that they paid to go to an exclusive event.
Interesting.
Then, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my... Not that I agree with that choice, but that's my devil's advocate with it.
Gotcha. No, I get it. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I just think it's stupid.
And you're entitled to that.
Especially when the convention is across the world.
Well, yeah.
You know, like when it's in the U.S., like I kind of get it a little more. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more accessible to a lot more people. But when you have it in another country where the general audience that enjoys Star Wars is already so much smaller, that's just whatever. Beside that point, they started things off for the main stage. Kathleen Kennedy got up on stage with Dave Filoni. Boom, right there. Great decision. A lot of people don't like Kathleen Kennedy. A lot of people that don't like Kathleen Kennedy like Dave Filoni more. Mm-hmm. So having them both there together really, I think, automatically gives you a more positive vibe about, you know, kind of getting into the weekend event. Mm-hmm. They made a few announcements right out the gate that I think were great to hear, again, as a Star Wars fan. I've, again, made several videos on the channel, especially right when I started this channel, about my frustrations with the franchise for announcing a ton of projects and then they just become dead in the water after several years. And they actually acknowledged several of these projects on the main stage, and that was really cool. So they first cleared the air on some projects that have long been rumored to be shelved or, you know, just we haven't heard anything about them. We've heard rumors that, like, writers walk away and people are getting fired under the table, things like that. So there were Star Wars movies by different, you know, directors and writers. One of them being Taika Waititi was supposed to get a Star Wars movie. That was a few years ago now. I honestly want to say like 4 or 5 years ago. And then we haven't heard anything about that in years. Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy doing her Rey movie post Rise of Skywalker. I kind of thought that was getting canceled. And then the other one was the James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi movie, which is like 25,000 years before any Star Wars we've seen on screen, that is. So Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni just came out right out the gate and said all those projects still happening. They're in the works. They're coming. We don't really have any concrete, you know, due dates on anything to give you guys right now, but just know that these projects are still happening. That immediately kind of told me that, okay, they're clearing the air. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been wanting Lucasfilm to do. Yeah. Clear the air on the projects. Just say they're dead or say they're still in the works. You know, that way we as the fandom aren't sitting and guessing, you know. So I was very, very happy right off the bat. They also confirmed that there were rumors, maybe a couple months ago now, that Simon Kinberg was getting a Star Wars trilogy of movies. They did confirm that, yes, that is happening. So, again, I'm very happy to hear official information of, like, okay, you guys actually have concrete plans with people for something. Yeah. Awesome. Then they announced Sean Levy is doing his own Star Wars movie. And then they brought Sean Levy on stage. Sean Levy addressed a lot of the rumors regarding his Star Wars movie, namely the rumor that Ryan Gosling was going to be in his Star Wars movie. He then announced that Ryan Gosling was going to be the star of his Star Wars movie, and then he invited Ryan Gosling on the stage with them. Then Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling together, it was that little graphic that I showed you. You can find it on all the Star Wars official social media. Star Wars Starfighter, coming out in theaters, a standalone movie taking place approximately 5 years after the end of The Rise of Skywalker. May 28th, 2027.
27?
27.
Okay.
Jen, how we feeling?
It's a lot of stuff. With Ryan Gosling, I'm really curious to see him in a Star Wars movie.
Same.
I mean, I know he had his, like, stint with Blade Runner, like, that had that, you know, sci-fi vibe. But, like, I'm very curious to see him in this type of setting. Because most of my encounters with Ryan Gosling are... Ken, rom-coms,
La La
Land, you know, just like hard hitters like that. So I'm very curious. I'm just interested to see what that looks like.
Same.
Is there any information about like what it's like about? Like
nope.
Nothing.
That's all we've got right now.
Just that it's 5 years after.
Yeah, and it begins production this year in the fall.
Okay.
So, sounds like they have a script, like, pretty concretely together for them to be beginning production in the fall. So, and then Dave Filoni said, as soon as Celebration is over and he gets back to the States, he's going to begin production on Ahsoka Season 2.
Very nice.
So, again, pretty exciting all around. I am keeping my phone over here because right about now, Star Wars Celebration Day 2, as we're speaking about Day 1, is starting.
Right.
They're doing that Ahsoka panel first, but I think since Dave already said something, I don't foresee anything real big happening. I think a lot of our big reveals already got shown. Yeah.
I'm curious, though, because wasn't it on the list of on the schedule that they're going to talk about Rebels or like show a Rebels clip today or tomorrow?
Yeah, the Rebels finale.
Okay. I'm curious about what that might turn into because I remember we were kind of speculating on that.
Well, I think it has to do with a show that we'll get into later towards the end that got announced, an animated show. So, and then, of course, so that was like the kind of like the opening of Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
You know, like that was the big announcements.
I think it's pretty cool that they did that. Not only what you were saying of, you know, just being out in the open with everything, but even it's showing that they do listen to like what the discourse is online, because I know that was obviously you were making videos about it. I'm sure you weren't the only one.
No.
And just people on Twitter or whatever. So I think that was such a good move in that sense, too, of showing not only a united front, being open with all the projects, but also showing that they listen to the fans a bit more than we anticipate.
Yeah, I felt like I felt like my trust is starting to rebuild in the company. That's a sentiment I've had for a little bit now. I've felt like as far as the new media goes, like they're losing me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of fans kind of feel the same way. So then they had the panel for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Yet again, even though there's a full trailer out there since like last year, they didn't release that publicly again for some reason. Instead, they showed off a sneak peek for the movie again. I heard rumblings that a buff Rhoda the Hutt, like Rhoda the Hutt from the Clone Wars movie, is now an adult in this movie, and he's like jacked, like he's got like abs and shit, like.
Okay, I can't even picture that.
Well, because we've only seen fat Hutts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested. I'm intrigued. But we already, all the other stuff is stuff we already knew. Like Zeb is a major player in this movie.
Right.
Mando, Grogu, Mandalorian rides an ATRT at one point. You know, and they did give a release date. It is May of 2026.
Okay.
So in next year we will get the Mandalorian and Grogu in May.
So we have the Mandalorian and Grogu movie in May of 26, and then the Ryan Gosling movie in May of 27.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Bear with me.
It looks like they're really trying to stick to that schedule of at least every May.
Yeah.
There's something new and big coming out. Which I think would be a smart move.
Yeah.
For just a little bit more consistency.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the time that we've been together, there's been, like, all over the place, the schedules of releases for different shows, like, throughout the year have just, they seem random to me, at least. I know that, what was it, 2023, when there was, like, 5 different shows that came out, like, a month after each other. Like
it was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much, yeah.
So I think creating some type of consistency, especially with movies, would be a really smart move as just an anticipation thing, too.
Spacing things out. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Space it out. I want to be able to breathe in between my Star Wars projects. Yeah. And then, of course, we had the Hasbro panel. So much toy, collectible, action figure stuff, I can't even begin to get into it. If you want to check out the live stream I was on with Monday Night Figure Ball on their YouTube channel, you can check that out. We got a surprise appearance from Brandon, Hero Collections. That was really fun to talk to him for like 4 hours unexpectedly. We also had Justin from Out of the Basement and Zach from Black Series Cantina jump in. So that was a lot of fun. If you want to catch up on like the Black Series, the Vintage Collection, Hot Toys, SH Figuarts, Mafex, action figures, you can check that out. But yeah, I'm not gonna bore Jen any more than I already do. Bore her and yab her ear off with action figure stuff. Let's talk about now something that I'm really excited for. Now, this was something I wasn't expecting to have an announcement. Didn't think this was happening at all. A new Clone Wars animation style series. Like a full series. Not a, Tales of Mini Beat series. This is a full multi-season show. Maul Shadow Lord. Sam Witwer coming back to reprise his voice role.
One of our best friends.
As Darth Maul. We met Sam Witwer at GalaxyCon Columbus. We did.
One of our besties, Sam.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing your new project.
They showed a trailer, which has not yet been released publicly. We got to see it on Instagram. From like an over-the-shoulder, awful quality video, because no one knows how to frame a camera in those panels.
It is crazy.
I think they're, afraid to, hold their phone up.
Yeah.
Because I know you're not supposed to,
But I'm sure the majority of the audience was doing that, so...
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. I'm so excited. So it's Darth Maul about a year after the end of Clone Wars Season 7. That's exactly what I want to see.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I want more. I want this is the dark times. It's an era that I want to know what Darth Maul's up to. Darth Maul allegedly taking on a pupil.
Right, yeah, that was interesting.
That being Darth Talon, a lot of people think.
I don't know, is that like a lore
I'm going to
thing?
show you a picture of Legends Darth Talon.
Okay, this is from Legends.
Yeah, I can already tell you she looks a lot different than how she used to look. This is her from... So in Legends, Darth Maul takes her on as an apprentice.
Okay.
And she is quite the character. Here you go.
Oh. Seems a little unnecessary. Why did she... Okay. I can see why people think that's her. But why... Let's talk about the misogynistic... Like, why in this picture does Darth Maul have a full body armored outfit on and she's wearing a literal crop top and she's not wearing anything on her bottoms, just a little drape over herself and thigh-high boots?
Well, it's because she's a Twi'lek, and that's generally how they dress.
Is that how they dress, or how people dress
Culturally,
them?
Twi'leks tend to dress a little bit scantily.
Okay, girl. Halloween?
Oh my god. She's from a lot of comic books. That is not Darth Talon. She's from a lot of comic books. She's from a lot of novels. She's Darth Maul's, like, apprentice.
I mean, it makes total sense that...
So a lot of people are speculating that her, like, body tattoos are, like, because of Darth Maul.
Yeah, that makes sense. She probably just gets them.
Yeah. Because in the trailer, she doesn't have them.
That's a cool picture of her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a pretty notable comic character, like, expanded universe character. A lot of older fans, like really know her because of a lot of stories that she's been in comic books and such. So she's not like a nobody. Oh my god. Can't show that one on camera.
Like, come on, people.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this? Like,
I mean, that would be super cool to... Who's Cade Skywalker?
Cade Skywalker? Legends expanded universe, not canon stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, in the expanded universe, Cade Skywalker is the offspring of I want to say Han and Leia.
Okay.
And his brother, no, it's Jason and Jaina Solo, and their brother and sister. And then there's Cade Skywalker as Luke and Mara Jade's son. And then there's so much that happens in that content. Like, I just
everyone needs to get together. Everyone needs to have kids. That's how fanfic works.
Yeah, it's literally fan fiction.
People get together. People have kids, and then
those kids sometimes turn to the dark side.
Yeah, and then those kids also meet with other kids.
So the idea in the old expanded universe was that Darth Maul actually lived all the way through past the original trilogy.
Can you put that away?
My knife. Sorry. I'm stimming.
That was crazy. You opened the knife and then started talking.
Darius, turn that water off. Anyway.
What were we talking about?
Talking about Darth Talon, and I was telling you about, like, the lineage of the expanded universe, Legends, Skywalker family tree.
Right,
But the idea was that Darth Maul lived all the way through past the original trilogy. Obviously, that's not canon now.
Right,
because he dies at the hands of Ben Kenobi in Rebels. So they pretty much just moved that storyline from post-original trilogy, and they're just plugging it in the 18, 19-year gap between the prequels and the sequel, or the prequels and the OT.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense to me.
I'm really excited for the show. I really am. Do you have any speculations for it?
I'm really excited to see some, like, true organized crime storylines, because there was, like, a little bit of that with some of the spice trading in Clone Wars, a little bit of it in Book of Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
And Mando.
Yeah.
Like, but I really am interested to see, like, Darth Maul as crime boss, you know, in that role.
Running Crimson Dawn.
And then I'm hoping it would show us, like, lead into the Solo movie where his little cameo is. I'm all for that. I'm a Breaking Bad fan, so maybe that's where I'm coming from, but, like, I I think that's going to be a super cool storyline that we haven't seen before.
What I'm really excited about, I guess I'll talk about one more thing about the trailer, is at the end of the trailer, Marok from the Ahsoka series, the guy who is an undead Inquisitor, we see clashing sabers with Darth Maul. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess formerly Darth, now just Maul at this point in the timeline. Right. But yeah, we see him clashing sabers with Maul, saying he lives. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I'm very excited. I'm really excited.
I wonder if, like, we see Marok die, and then leading into why he would be an undead person, or is that too long?
No, I think it would make sense that Maul could kill him. Yeah.
I mean, when does Ahsoka take place? It's before the sequels.
It's like 7, 8, 9 years after the end of the OT.
After so I guess it's a little bit long, but like...
But he's clearly a Night Sister zombie.
Yeah. So
in Ahsoka.
That would be kind of interesting if they're bringing him into this.
Yeah.
If we see his death, which then leads into him being a zombie.
We know the Empire's going to have involvement in the show because we see Maul cutting down TK troopers, which we saw in the Bad Batch, meaning that we know it's pretty early on in the reign of the Empire.
Before they're switched over.
Yeah, but, they have switched over, the TK troopers. This is when... I mean, you're right, though. There could still be clones around at this point if it's around the time of the Bad Batch.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, first season of Bad Batch, they're still, like...
First season of Bad Batch is, like, immediately after Revenge of the Sith.
So...
And then there's, like, a year time gap. But so, it honestly, a lot of this takes place during season 2 of the Bad Batch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they, like, just got cut off.
Yeah. I would love to see Maul clash with Asajj Ventress. Mm-hmm. Now that would be
sick.
Awesome. That would be awesome.
That would be... like, really cool.
That'd be really... Because they were a pair we never saw even interact in... No! Ventress and Obi-Wan fight Maul and Savage in that... in the ship. Remember that one episode where Ventress comes and saves Obi-Wan? And they have that duel. So there's already a feud there.
And she's, like, in her, like, redemption era.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, this can be interesting... if watching Tales of the Underworld, we get some more insight on Ventress, and then watching Maul, and she has a little cameo there, that would be pretty sick, and that would be really interesting, and a really cool move for Star Wars if they have a little Easter egg in Tales of the Underworld that gets us ready for Maul.
You know what I'd also be down to see? Maul and Ahsoka battle it out again. Mm-hmm. Because Ahsoka knows he's not dead.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know she's not dead. Mm-hmm. You know?
Right.
From the crash of the Venator. Clearly they're familiar with each other's game in Rebels when they see each other again.
Yeah.
So, there's plenty of characters I'd love to see clash with Maul.
This is making me want to watch, like, in lead up, watching really... cool episodes that feature Maul in Clone Wars and Rebels, honestly, too. Rewatch those and kind of, like, prepare, because I've been thinking about this. I really want to rewatch the episode when Savage finds Maul again.
Yes,
because
yeah.
Watching it for the first time, some of the things went over my head, and then now we're in it, and meeting Sam Witwer too, and him talking about, like, with that, the parents in front of us, like, him talking about the show and his involvement a little bit in depth. I really want to revisit some of those key episodes again, see if I can catch more of his, like, the things that Sam Witwer just added in, too. Especially in preparation with this new show. I'm
also really excited, like, because Darth Maul is such an interesting character because he just is evil. Like, he's another one of those characters that's like his motivations are only selfish. Yeah. Like, to control, have power in the galaxy. And that's a character type that I feel like you never get to really focus much on in in Star Wars anything. We're always focusing on the good guys. And I think this is a great way to make a darker, grittier show without having to worry about because Darth Maul doesn't have morals. Like, that is what's exciting about watching him on screen.
Right.
He'll choke anybody out. Like, he'll do what he needs to do to survive.
The only other character that is purely evil the way that Maul is Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
But with Darth Sidious, he's so manipulative and calculated that it's just a totally different game. Like,
yeah.
Darth Maul is so reactive and dramatic, you know, like he is, everything he's doing is, like you said, selfish reasons, but it's also like impulse mostly through his hatred.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we see a lot of Sidious and how he like is a puppet master.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's gonna be interesting watching someone that's just kind of just is evil and doesn't have like a master plan of everything.
Yeah.
So, I think that's gonna be a totally different vibe than I think we're even ready for.
Yeah. I'm also just really excited because Maul, his character is the embodiment of Sisyphus. Mm-hmm. We know that from statements made by namely Sam Witwer, and Freddie Prinze Jr., who, you know, Maul's destiny is to build up all this power and then fall back down to the bottom of the hill. I know that this story ends in tragedy for Darth Maul, and he's going to lose everything again, which will lead us to the hermit that we see in Rebels, the man who has lost it all.
I kind of forgot the timing of that for a second. That's way after what we're going to be seeing here.
I'd also be really interested to see this show tie in Solo, a Star Wars story, a little bit, and like how Maul is very clearly in control of Crimson Dawn at that point, and that's a good 10 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
So I'd be really interested to see some time jumps in this show and really just take time to tell great stories.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with a character that has no morals and no values, like it's more exciting to watch because you don't know what they're going to do next. So I'm really excited. I really am. And the other cool thing, too, is seeing that Maul still has some loyal followers, like the Mandalorians, like Rook Cast. That's that female Mandalorian that we saw a couple shots of in that show. I'm interested to see if they're going to use part of this show to adapt the Son of Dathomir comics. Do you know about that? Okay, so this was originally going to be part of Clone Wars season 6, 7, 8, like something. But they weren't able to finish it. So this got adapted into comic books.
Okay.
We also know that the on-screen canon trumps the comic book and novel canon. So if they want to, they could pretty much just retcon everything that happens in those comics, or they could also just do a faithful interpretation of the comics translated onto the screen. I'm really excited to maybe see that on screen. Basically what happens is you remember in season 5, I believe it is, where Palpatine takes it upon himself to go to Mandalore, and he duels Maul and Savage, kills Savage, and the last shot we see of Maul is him, "Have mercy, please."
Yeah.
"There is no mercy." And he just electrocuting him with the Force lightning. Palpatine actually takes Darth Maul and takes him and puts him in jail. Darth Maul gets freed by his Mandalorians.
Okay.
Mainly Rook Cast and Gar Saxon.
Okay.
Gar Saxon is in Rebels, and we also saw him he's the one with that really cool yellow visor in season 7 of the Clone Wars with the horns on his helmet, the Mandalorian. You know what I'm talking about? I can pull up a picture if you need.
Yeah.
You want me to?
Yes.
Yeah, let me pull up a picture. Gar Saxon, The Clone Wars. This is Gar Saxon in the Clone Wars.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's
and then
what
there's
I was thinking.
Rook Kast next to him. She's a female Mandalorian, and she has a really cool helmet too. I'll pull her up while I'm at it. Rook Kast. Yeah, there she is, and she is in the comic book. And there's her with her helmet. She looks exactly like that in the animated series too.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is part of that. They break Maul out of jail.
Okay.
There's Gar Saxon right there in the back of that still from the comic book. And then Darth Maul gets back to Mandalore, and that's how we get to Clone Wars Season 7.
Okay.
So that's why Maul is all of a sudden back in Clone Wars Season 7. And at this point, Palpatine doesn't really care because he knows Maul can't muster up the strength to defeat him. So that's why he lets him go. But lots of cool stories you can tell with this show, and I like that it's going to be a full series, not a limited 6-episode, 9 to 12 minute each garbage. No, I'm just kidding. I love the Tales of the Jedi. Not so much Tales of the Empire. So, any other thoughts on Shadow Lord?
Just that I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah, me too.
Anything with that animation style just hits different.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know it's going to be good.
You know it. That's really it. Honestly, I thought we'd be talking for longer. But, I mean, that's only day 1 of Star Wars Celebration, right? Like I said, as we're recording this, day 2 has just begun. So you guys on the Patreon will see this a little early. You guys on YouTube and Spotify, wherever else, you guys will see this Saturday morning, the day before Easter. And then the following week on the podcast, if there's a lot of stuff to cover, we will cover it from Celebration. Otherwise, you guys can just expect, our episode of our ranking of Star Wars. I know probably the one thing I'm looking forward to most is today at Star Wars Celebration for day 2. They are revealing the new Star Wars video game.
Okay.
It's going to be a single. Did I send you pictures? Because they did. It's called Star Wars Zero Company. Looks like it's going to take place during the prequel trilogy, during the Clone Wars era specifically. Let me find the pictures because they just posted it a couple days ago. Yeah, here it is. So it's a single-player turn-based tactics game. Here's some of your main team members you can play as.
Okay.
Get a Mandalorian, a clone trooper, a Jedi, an Umbaran, and then this is a smuggler, his astromech droid. You can see a battle droid on the hologram. That's pretty cool. Very excited for Star Wars Zero Company. I think it's something new and fresh that Star Wars gaming hasn't done in a really long time. I love turn-based tactics games, especially if you're I'm a kid who grew up with Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And then in high school I played Hearthstone, which is a game I still have on my phone. I don't play it anymore, but it's a same Magic the Gathering adjacent, high fantasy card game style. It's having that in Star Wars to me is really cool.
Yeah.
And if that's what it is, then I'm going to be really excited for it. Or if it's an MMO, where you are just kind of building a team and you go through a board game style thing. There was a game that I played on my Game Boy as a kid. Excuse me, by the way, I have allergies, so it was called Yu Yu Hakusho: The Dark Tournament. You guys know Yu Yu Hakusho is one of my favorite anime of all time. And the Dark Tournament was exactly that. You could unlock different characters throughout the game, and then every level was set up like a chessboard. Or it was like a grid, and then you could move your character so many spaces, and then the AI, the enemy, got to move all their characters, and then you would go back and forth, and it was a lot of fun. maybe one move could go only one direction, but it could reach like up to 9 spaces in front of you, whereas another move was like an area of effect, like it would do damage all around you. Or, you know, then you'd have like a healer, and it's a lot of fun. I like games like that. I've always, games like Pokemon and, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, I went on a whole, like, tangent there. I'm very excited for this video game announcement. I'm really excited to see what it's about, when it's coming out. Yeah, very excited to have something new to play. I also need to play Star Wars Outlaws, because they did just announce a new expansion. They're on expansion number 2 for that game, and I haven't even started the game. Granted, it took me over 2 years to play Jedi Survivor, and I absolutely loved that game, so I really need to jump on it. But, that's all I got. That's all I got. Jen, you got anything?
I love Star Wars.
I love Star Wars. But with that, guys, it's getting late. I'm going to make sure I get this out a little early for you guys on Patreon. Stay tuned. We're going to be having a lot more to talk about. I might do some individual videos on the YouTube channel on some of these topics if I feel like I really want to cover them more. Mm-hmm. But with that, guys, that's all for the Blitzcast this week. Like I said in the beginning with all the housekeeping, make sure to check out all the links in the description below. We love Star Wars. You love Star Wars. Everyone loves Star Wars. And we'll catch ya for the next episode of the Blitzcast. May the Force be with you.
Bye!
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 1-2, pick a target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I've got 2 vultures on my tail. Gotta hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's our reinforcement?